Ambassador Sikri, Bangladesh is dependent on India from energy to electricity, from rice to cotton, and yet we see a rather hostile attitude for 8 months and counting. First Bangladesh goes to Pakistan, tries to play the Pakistan card, then it tries to play the China card, and we continue to accommodate Bangladesh since we've had a historic relationship with them. What is it that India needs to do to send across that message that, one, this is unacceptable, there will be costs on this, and yet ensure it doesn't go into the Chinese orbit? Because we've seen many neighbors cut their nose to spite their face.
Look, Chinese orbit is what Mohammed Yunus is seeking. There is no question about it. Let's not make any bones about it. Yunus is seeking the Chinese orbit supported by Pakistan so that to make himself last indefinitely in power. He's doing that blatantly. He's doing that openly. So to think that we are going to try and prevent him from going into the Chinese orbit is not correct, because that has already happened and he's using the Chinese pressure for this. Now, whether we are constrained because of the present state of relations between India and China, I don't know. But I do think that for our own regional interests, for our own interests about safety and security in the Northeast India, in West Bengal, in all this region, we have to be very clear on what we tell the Yunus regime, and we have to be very clear that if the Yunus regime does not abide by what we are saying, I don't think this regime can exist much more. There isn't any popularity for the regime. They're all waiting to see what India's views of the regime are. But I think today, the way in which Prime Minister Modi has very categorically stated his views to Mohammed Yunus was certainly looking very nervous during that meeting. The papers in his hand was fumbling away and so on. So obviously he has got a very strong message today from Prime Minister Modi, and it's up to him to see what he will do about it. And if he doesn't, even after this meeting, because Prime Minister Modi has given this meeting after repeated pressure from the Mohammed Yunus regime, and he has explained categorically and very frankly what India's concerns are. Now, if the Mohammed Yunus regime is not going to, even now, we are not going to abide by India's security red lines, then I think we certainly have to think of very specific action.
Now, what would that specific action be? Because, frankly, if Mohammed Yunus is talking about India's Siliguri corridor area in whale terms, should we look at it as a threat? When he talks about the Northeast being, the Seven Sisters being landlocked and cut off, and Bangladesh being guardian of the ocean, and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, showed him a mirror very clearly that 6,500 kilometers is our coastline in the Bay of Bengal region, and 7,500 kilometers across the length and breadth of India is a massive coastline. But I want to understand from you, if he's talking about seeking Chinese investment to make a military base near the Chicken's Neck area and getting Pakistan there, as you said, this clearly is, one, not friendly. It's clearly a very hostile act that he's contemplating.
It is a hostile action. We have to recognize it as such, and we have to call it out as such. We are not going to allow Chinese labor, Chinese people, Pakistani generals to roam around in that Siliguri corridor area. I think we have to draw up those red lines, because this just cannot be done. And I think that even further calling out of the statement on the Northeast is important. We have done that. Our External Affairs Minister, on the statement made yesterday in BIMSTEC ministerial meeting in Bangkok, was very clear. He said there's no cherry picking allowed in this. It has to be a holistic, integrated relationship. As part of this holistic, integrated relationship, certainly Chinese or Pakistani presence in Lal Munir Ghat near the Siliguri corridor is not going to be acceptable. We have to lay down the red lines on that. And this is where we have to come and clear. And, in our talks between the two army chiefs, I think it would be a good idea for the army chief of Bangladesh to visit India and to understand from India what our concerns were. At one time, there was a lot of talk about the army chief visiting India. But we do know that in the meanwhile, even the Pakistanis were conniving with certain elements in the Bangladesh army to try and replace the army chief. So you can imagine the lengths to which Pakistan is ready to go to establish their control. They think they are in the pre-71 era. They think that, there's no longer any question of liberation anymore. And this is once again East Pakistan for them. I think the people of Bangladesh are not ready for this at all. They do not want, they are proud people, they are sovereign nation. They are very proud of their history of the liberation war and their successes as an independent country, the economic successes they have achieved, they're proud of that and they want to continue with that. And they do realize that a good relationship with India is mutually beneficial. And
Okay.
Bangladesh
And
benefited
Geeta,
greatly.
have there been any indications whatsoever, because Ambassador Sikri very clearly points out that some of the actions of the Bangladeshi government in the past 8 months have been unfriendly and some instances clearly very hostile. Any indications that they will mend their ways or they think that they will use that Pakistan card and China card against us like Mohammad Yunus tried when he went to Beijing recently?
Well, I don't see them mending their ways. I only see them changing or shifting a little in what they're saying and how they're saying it. Look, this was a gesture in itself that Bangladesh sought the meeting with the Indian Premier. They could have done without a meeting, given the kind of statements they're making. And the hostile or not so friendly statements came not so very long ago. He was in Beijing and he spoke about how Bangladesh is the hub. Northeast is landlocked, and so almost saying that India needs Bangladesh for the northeastern states. Dr. Jaishankar responded to that saying that it is northeast that's the hub, and if they need connectivity and if they need to expand, then Bangladesh requires this entire region that is part of India. That was the response of India. So that's only just one of the many things that have happened. There are important relations and important connections that they're trying to make with various countries, balancing America and China, now getting closer to China because the administration in Washington DC has changed. So it is not for India right now, Gaurav, to be navigating this space. I think right now Bangladesh is in a very difficult position. They are trying to figure out how to get out of this one and hold an election and have a smooth transition of power and have someone in Dhaka who would be close to the people who are in power right now, and that Yunus will not be incarcerated. Remember, there are cases against him. So one will again have to wait and see how he navigates this space.
No, but this radical Islamists who've been unleashed in Bangladesh, they've been kept in check to an extent by Sheikh Hasina's regime, though temples were targeted. Even then, it remains to be seen whether, these elements can be locked up once again or there will be a challenge for whatever administration or regime comes in Dhaka.